How will Bitcoin choose after the win trend line? If you are interested in this issue, please follow me. From the daily chart, we can find that we are in the early stages of the past few rounds of rise. The beginning of the rise let us mark our rising point first. We include the two rising points in the past. In fact, he has a characteristic. If we combine MACD to observe, we can find that including the rising point here and the rising point here. In fact, we only started to rise after the underwater golden cross appeared on the daily line. So simply speaking, our callback is over and we are about to start rising. An important turning signal is actually the underwater golden cross, which can represent it. Our previous wave of callbacks has indeed ended, and he has the opportunity to start our next wave of rises, including when we are in the place below. You can find that among us, he has gone away once. In fact, if there is a divergence, it means that the bulls in our section are weakening. Let's not discuss whether it will end or not. But at least the weakening is certain. After the weakening, it will definitely take a period of time to adjust. Then the underwater gold we have appeared. The fork is actually a very important signal that the adjustment is over. So we can find it. In fact, we have gone through the underwater golden fork twice in the past. Which one is the real one? In fact, it is really difficult to say. How can you say it? It can be seen that we were in this place once and after it started to rise. Is it a good starting point? Is it a possible starting point? In fact, we judge the extent of its fall. Just like you can see after the rise. He then fell back a lot. And he immediately ate up the previous rise. And we even made a new low afterward. So our rising point would not be a good starting point. A little higher, so we can veto him. Then let's look at the golden cross behind us this time. You can find that there is a correction in the increase that we have made in the future. The increase is very strong. The correction he just adjusted sideways and almost didn't fall. So we can bring our current market to our current market. Let's draw him again and see. If there is a golden cross now, but there is a golden cross. But he will rise in our current wave. Is it an okay starting point? No. Because he pulls back so much. So even if we go long next, I think we'll find a good starting point. And we'll be as long as before. Wow, he's very if this kind of behavior is very strong. We need to find another point. And find a new rising point. Before we have the opportunity to do so. Of course, when we have this behavior, there will also be a corresponding golden cross below us. But the current one has not yet appeared. So we may. If it does, it will be the opportunity we have been waiting for. From the root, we can also draw the pattern that he appears at this position. He tested 31,000 above him. Twice. These 2 times so far are all falling back and are failures. We don't have to keep saying that the trend line below us is very clear. This trend line must be effective. It has at least 4 contact points. Some people will say that this is not the relay pattern of our bullish rise. In fact, I don't think so. He may not be like this. In this way, there has been a good rise in the front. And then we have followed this upward convergent triangle. And we finally break through upwards. This is the rising and relaying form of the relay. You can find that the way he went is that we counted the entire rise. Which is actually different from the previous one where there was a rise. And then a relay adjustment. And then a breakthrough. Well, let's look at another place that is below us. In fact, if we say that a trend line has intensive contact back and forth in a short period of time, it can mean that our trend line is at least exhausted. And even if this situation intensifies, we may end up. If we fall below the trend line, our bulls can actually declare that they have collapsed. The time interval between the 2 times we touched the trend line in the past is 97 days. And 97 days is very long. You may say that you have oscillated for a long time in between. But the previous increase is also very exaggerated. So you can find that the time interval between our two contact with the trend line is only 53 days. 97 days and 53 days. Which is almost 50% reduced. Then we can find that we have actually gone beyond. In fact, we have a historical case of this kind of situation. Like when we were in this position in the past, you can find that we actually experienced many failures before we fell below the trend line. It's not just one time. We have only one failure now. But when we fell below, he had multiple failures. You can see that the interval between our contacts this time was 24 days. And we shortened the next 13 days. Then it will be 10 days until it falls below the trend line. So we are constantly shortening the time interval between contacting the trend line. Which can mean that our market is gradually weakening. It is exhausting. And it is becoming weak. Is he in this position? Depletion is definitely there. But we only have one depletion. I doubt whether it will directly lead to a wave of plummeting market prices. In fact, we can conclude that I personally don't see plummeting. Come near the trend line. If it is agreed, we will make a trading plan next. If this trend line goes out in what form, I will take action. I will think he is a liar. In fact, if this level is so large, then there must be a trend line with validity and consensus. If we say that the way we go out in the end, he uses shocks, that is, we will continue in this place without fluctuations. And he will continue to go with shocks. Well, we will cut it to 4 hours at this time. And it will be clearer. Now we have changed the price below. About $1,000. The distance to oscillate is about 29,800 to 28,000. If we continue to oscillate in this interval and continue to oscillate here until we step out and break through this trend line, then it will appear. What kind of situation if we really go out like this? Then I think that this kind of breakout is definitely not a real breakout. And it is definitely not worth our intervention. In fact, we have been in the past and we have recently. There is a very good case. I don't know if you still remember our market. I personally was very impressed with this market. When we were in this market, it was true that he also fell in the end. We were exhausted. In the end, he ended up the same. It plummeted, but what happened to him at that time? We saw the trend line that most people drew from the bottom. We can see what happened when we walked here. He also fluctuated and broke him. Is it broken? He is indeed broken. But he is going through a shocking break. He is not a violent break. This kind of shock break is not a very likely, not a real break. If it is like this, it is not. It is worth entering this kind of empty list. In fact, there is another way of drawing. We don't draw from the bottom. What we pay attention to is the contact point. We can find that if we use this way of drawing, we are in the front. 1 or 2, 3 contact points until the place behind us. He actually did not use this kind of blasting. You can find that when he broke. He rebounded and then broke down. It's like cheating twice. If you look at the trend line, he lied to you twice. In the end, when we broke down violently, it can't be seen from the trend line. But does this mean that our trend line won't work? Absolutely, this is not the case. How does the trend line work? Or how does it break through? It is worthy of our intervention. A break like this is when we are falling. If we fall, a lot of energy will burst out directly. This kind of break is worth following. It is a real break. If we continue to fluctuate and get out of this trend line like just now, this kind of break is usually not a real break. It's not worth our pursuit. It's not worth our trading. So this is what I'll be concerned about next. If he has a good starting point, it seems that he has unqualified at this starting point. It's not okay. But until we find a good starting point later on, then I may be able to do it at this time. The current market volatility is indeed quite boring. But the longer we oscillate, we will explode next. He will definitely go deeper in the market. This is what we want to take good care of. Thank you very much. Everyone is very welcome. You can help me like, subscribe, share and turn on the little bell, which is the greatest support for me. If you don't use Bybit. If you want to trade on Bybit, you just need to click the link below to KYC and deposit $100. And you will be given a Bitcoin contract position worth $1,000 immediately. You can choose long order or short order, and then it will be directly. This is a free position for you to open. But if you make a profit, you can close the position and withdraw the coins. You are welcome to click the link below. Thank you everyone. Bye bye.